call this meeting of the Jedi Committee to order at 6:01 p.m. We'll start with roll call. Emmanuel?
Yeah.
Crystal?
Here.
Akil? Asia? Andrea?
Here.
Jeffrey?
Here.
Ted?
Here.
Greg?
Here.
Maureen? Daisy?
Present.
David?
Here.
Larnie? Jeremy?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
And Shannon. Hi, Akil. All right, everybody, so let's get started. First things first, do we have any, there you are. I don't see any audience members. Oh, up there, someone in the back. Welcome, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to see you both. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, actually, we asked them. We know they've been at our subcommittee, but they haven't been to the committee as a whole, and they just want to introduce themselves. I'm not sure they're going to be able to stick around all night, but they just want to introduce themselves if they could.
That'd be great, absolutely.
I'm Tom Mace, I'm a lieutenant in the police department, and as Dave mentioned, I've been to the last subcommittee meeting. Thank you guys for including us in it. We'll get into it a little bit late, but I want to do my part to help the committee, and I just wanted to introduce myself to some of the people that weren't at that subcommittee and let's put a face to the name. So.
Well, thank you. We're happy to have you.
My name is Brian Donato. I'm a sergeant with the police department. I came in, Tom had asked me if I could stop up and see what information I could give you guys on policy and statistics that you guys had requested. So I was here with that.
And thank you. Well, thank you both for coming. Please feel free to participate in any way that you would like. We're kind of free with the rules of order here. By we, I mean me. Do you have any questions before we get started that you'd like to pose to the committee?
I don't know. We just wanted to say hi to everybody else that's involved. Yeah, with the whole main. I think we got a good feel for it when we met a couple weeks ago with the guys, and like what the mission is and do our part. So just kind of want to stop up, say hi, hang out for a little bit.
And for those who don't know, they were here for the Justice and Policing Subcommittee meeting and provided some great information, lots of really good context to the policies and procedures that we were reviewing. So we're happy to have you, and thanks again for your help. Does anybody here have questions for them while we have them?
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, moving on. Let's get started with the subcommittee reports. Jeff, please bring us up to speed with justice and police relations.
Half of what I was going to say, we just said.
Sorry.
We were joined by Lieutenant Tom Mason and Sergeant Brian Donato. So it was good to have them with us and for them to share their expertise as we went through two more sections of information and data that we had gathered on portable and audio video recorders and crisis intervention incidents. So those were two areas in which we had long discussions. One unique thing that we found out was that our portable audio and video recorders are top-notch, based upon what we heard from Jeremy. Jeremy has played a huge role in our committee and helping to explain some of the things that we're looking to address. So it's good to know that we are in a community with top-notch equipment and things of that nature. So, and I had said that I would send everyone an email, everyone in the subcommittee, in preparation for the next meeting. I still will. I've just been sort of busy. So.
Anybody else from subcommittee have anything to add there? Good. Any questions for Jeff? All right, thank you, Jeff. Moving on to city employment diversity. Andrea?
Thank you. We met last Monday, June 7th. I think, yes, June 7th. And we discussed the need to still get out our RFP to have a diversity consultant, so we're still working on that. We also talked that there might be an internship opportunity here for a student that might come in, so that would be nice. And we also talked about having 2 new hires. Is that correct? 2 new hires, minority hires here. One is an administrative assistant, and then the other as a maintenance 2, both African American. And then we talked about the fact that the police department has changed their entry exam to make it a national entry exam, and with that, we're able to have it more universal, and also that we are providing vouchers for anybody who does not have the money to take it. And I think that that's it. That was quick. Sorry.
No
It was about
apologies
as quick as our
necessary.
meeting. So I don't know, Michael, do you have anything else to add?
Just one last thing. The fire department also has changed their exam to go along with the National Testing Network. So both entrance exams will be held this year. They both will be with the National Testing Network, as Andrea explained.
Michael, going to national, what was it? I should know. What was it? Was it regional? Was it state previous to that?
With national.
Well, if it's going to national,
Yes.
what is it coming from?
So it's coming from our actual local.
Just
exam.
local, okay,
Right.
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that's great. Any other questions for Andrew or Michael? All right, moving on to the Community Outreach Subcommittee, and I'll field this one. We had a very small meeting. Unfortunately, we've had some trouble getting everybody on the same schedule, but we had some great ideas come out of it that we wanted to bring to the full committee. Mary Yates, would you like to talk a little bit about the idea behind the professional video?
Yeah, I think we were talking about just really how to get the goals and missions of JEDI out to the public in a way to connect what we're doing here with the public. And you know, in this world that we live in with social media and attention spans that are, you know, very short, an effective way that we've seen in different avenues here is to put together videos. And so I kind of vision just, you know, different members talking about their different subcommittees and having it almost as kind of a dialogue type, you know. I like doing videos where I'm looking here and they're videoing me, so it's like I'm just talking to someone and carrying on a conversation. But really explaining, you know, what your role is and what you want to see happen and just different things that we could, you know, take some time and film all of us individually and then have someone kind of professionally kind of put it together and make it all, you know, make sense in terms of talking about subcommittees and have a few representatives sharing thoughts and then overall goals and those kind of things. And I think from the community standpoint, I think it would be a great tool to just kind of let people see and hear from everyone that's part of this, you know, what we're trying to do and what we hope to do. And, you know, this being, again, something long-term as we, you know, move forward with all we do. So, I don't know, I just kind of thought about that along with, I think some of, you know, from an event side of things, I think this committee, getting this committee more involved with, you know, whether we talk about National Night Out and what we do with it next year in May and different things, just having the committee more involved in some of it.
Absolutely. So as we talked about that, we kind of stepped back and looked at what it is that we're doing and what the community knows about it. And right now, quite frankly, it's kind of, they don't know much of anything about it other than the fact that it exists. That's only some people. So we had a gentleman, I forget his name, the doctor and his wife who came to the subcommittee meeting. Davis. Yeah, Dr. Davis and his wife came, and they are community members, and they had a police interaction, and then they had the opportunity to meet with the mayor and with the law director, and ultimately, it turned out to be a really good experience for them. And kind of as a byproduct of that meeting, they then came to our Justice and Policing Subcommittee meeting and had the opportunity to meet those of us who were here and the officers that were here. And I think it was a really positive interaction all the way around. So if we can find an opportunity to connect with our community, to let them know we're here, let them know what we're doing, and that we have seats open for them if they want to come in and start those conversations, I think it'd be a great way to start.
I absolutely agree. I met with Dr. Davis about it, you know, a different kind of issue, and it was, I mean, he confronted me and said, what's going on with this committee? Is this just political fluff? And, you know, really, you know, and I'm like, well, no, it's not. I'm like, here's what we're doing. And I said, you know, here are the things that we're working toward and trying to do. And then I invited them. I'm like, please come. I'm like, we would like to have, you know, community. But I think that's probably the initial response when people heard about this committee being formed. I mean, probably shared in the committee, but, you know, what are we gonna do and how we're gonna do it? And, so I think he had some of those reservations when he had heard about it, and he confronted me on it, and I'm glad that he came, and, you know, because he came to a council meeting after and talked a little bit about it.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So what are, yeah,
Yes, I just want to let you know that I talked to one of the elected officials in Twinsburg Township, and she's interested in coming, and to also bring on their two elected council people. Yes, the trustees, yes. They want to come too and see what this is all about. And she couldn't make it to this meeting, but she says give her a call, and whenever we have another meeting like this, that they would like to attend. So it'll probably be maybe 4 of them, I think.
okay.
That'll be coming.
Great. So I think at this point, we want to put that out. So I would say the chair would entertain a motion to form an exploratory committee to pursue this video. And I don't know that it would require much more work than to just coordinate recording.
I mean, any discussion, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on trying to do something to get it out? I mean, we can put all we want on, you know, city website or, you know, the Facebook page, but I don't know that really connects you guys and all of us to, you know, to the residents in a more intimate way. And so I guess I'd take, you know, your thoughts on whether we do that or not.
You could put it on your favorite Twinsburg roundtable.
But
Leave the comments off.
Yeah, exactly. Just cut them off.
Crystal, you
For
I see that
what?
thought
For what? What was the purpose?
of the video?
Yeah.
Just, it's really advertisement. Let them know we're here. I think most people have no idea this committee exists.
To do what? To what end?
To raise awareness. I would say to bring them in the door. I think that it's great that we're all here, that we volunteer to do this,
Right.
but we're not gonna get it so far if it's just us.
I agree. I want to really explore what's the theory of change. And so one of the things that I want to make sure that we're ready for is with community engagement. When you ask people their opinions, you have to be ready to meet the demand. Mm-hmm. And so I'm questioning, like, to what end, like, what are we poised to do? What are we willing to do? What is the city willing to do? And I know that, like, I'm committed fully to, like, all of us are committed because we're here. Mm-hmm. But, like, beyond that, like, what is the theory of change? And so I really want to have a realistic conversation about, okay, we have this groundswell of folks who come in and start to have really critical conversations, emotional conversations about things that have happened, and then are we poised to make the change necessary? Because what I don't want is then we've had that conversation and then we sit on it. And then we're like, okay, thank you for all coming. We're gonna go back and digest those conversations. And then 6 months from now, we will be back to tell you with another report. Because that will not feel like productivity to me. And so I'm really just wondering if there is some format that we should put forth as opposed to just saying, come one, come all. We got a video because we want everybody to come. And where there's not a process where we're willing to, like, channel folks through.
So is there a way that we can roll out what our metrics will be? And so from each committee, you know, we have, you know, a couple of key things that we're going to accomplish within this period of time. So if it's, employment, then we're listing, the goal is to do this. And so when people come, we at least create a way to engage them. And I mean, yes, there's, we'll be open floor, but at least we can try to at least center it around these things. And then if it's outside of that, then we have maybe another type of platform where it needs to be addressed. And I mean, we need to hear those stories and the things that you're talking about. But I just don't know if this is, kind of the immediate location that needs to be handled in if we're unaware of that. So maybe it's, if you're gonna come and you wanna speak about something, we need to know ahead of time. So before they come in and sit down and then, open up the floodgates, and then we're here for an hour listening to either, 2 or 3 different stories of things that have taken place. So I don't know, it's kind of a thought process.
Go ahead.
Is the community outreach purpose to understand some of the community issues, concerns, all of that? And so the point of having the community in is to figure those out and then to make a plan for them? Because I guess, some communities have started that with a survey. Some communities have open responses. And I guess I keep going back to this because we are going to be, I think it's absolutely necessary in every category, is if we had a consultant, that person would be able to get those surveys, get those responsive in a collective way, so then we can digest it and form a plan to take action on those specific issues. And so I'm kind of with Crystal, like having an open forum to come in and complain about the librarian was mean to me is not necessarily what I think that this committee should do in the long run. And plus, I don't think we can sympathize, we can empathize, but at the same time, there is no action plan for us right now to address some of those issues and concerns. So I do think, again, going back to a person that would be able to digest some of this, to have a plan, to formalize a plan, to figure out what the issues are. We might be sitting here discussing about community, and our community members, besides, 1 or 2, don't have an issue. And I'm not saying that's the case, it's pretty much impossible, but until we know what those issues are and what demographics, what age group, who's experiencing those, how that breakdown goes, I don't think that an open forum to come in and complain is, and I'm not saying they're all gonna be complaints, but I am an attorney, so I hear a lot of complaints. That is, the way we're going. I think that the video is fine to say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what our plans are, to introduce ourselves more so. But I think, as an invitation to whatever, I don't think that would be appropriate. So I guess.
I think I think there's kind of layers to all that you've said. And the video is strictly what my vision was just to really bring an awareness of the committee to the community. I think as you start peeling back some of the things that you're talking about and getting that engagement and promoting and seeking that engagement with the community, I think that's a whole different category. I just think there's a good portion of our community that has no idea this is going on, and as Greg and Daisy represent certain sections of our community, and if people have complaints or concerns or questions, they reach out to them. You are those now liaisons for this committee to the community, so you may personally get calls from people that may recognize you saying, here's some issues. And this is just history, and Shannon can vouch, is we've had a lot of committees and but our public participation on a lot of things is not very strong. I'm hopeful no matter what we try to do or engage to do, but creating at least the awareness out there, I guess that was my kind of purpose with the video, that, okay, if there are people that are looking to talk, whether it's publicly or privately, to some individualized situation, they know that there's people out there that can listen to them, whether they come in and stand at a mic or you know, they can call someone individually. So
Yeah.
I agree. I think this was strictly to be kind of just a fly-by level of, here's the committee, here's the members, let's introduce our members, and let's introduce some of our, you know, goals and how we've kind of broken down the subcommittee. So those were the kind of things I thought about.
Emmanuel?
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's exactly, the video will be for awareness, because we've been meeting since November, right? And a lot of people in the community know that we're meeting, but they don't know what we do, they don't know who we are. So just the video will be just to let people know that, hey, we exist, and this is who we are, and then we go from there.
And I will just jump in to say, I want us to be really, really careful with this idea of what we need to do, because we haven't done anything. And that's really concerning to me, because it's June. And I recognize, and one of the things that we've talked about is the need to research and the need to make sure that we know what it is that we're dealing with, right? That's why we go through all the policies and procedures and we talk with everybody. But the fact of the matter is, we need to let people know we're here. And I don't think a post on the city's website is the answer to that. I think, you know, what the mayor's saying is give the community the opportunity to know who we are, what we're about, and why we're here. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. And if that draws them in the door, so be it. But as Andrea was talking about with the survey, nobody's going to answer a survey from a committee that they didn't know existed. So we have to start somewhere. And to me, it seems like a good starting point. But if it's not, I think we need to leave this meeting today with something.
Can I say, I have another comment. I slightly disagree with this committee hasn't done anything, because I think what this committee has done internally is made awareness to the city. So when you're talking about justice and police, like, they're here, they're paying attention, they're doing stuff internally where we're not even having to address some of those issues, because they're internally taking it on and making changes. And I would say the same thing, Michael just left, but I would say the same thing internally for the city employment division and the HR, because I know the stuff that Michael has talked about that the HR department and the administration building is doing are things that we would be recommending, which is, you know, changing the way that you do entry exams. It's, you know, hiring more minorities and taking a really good look at your retention policies and your equity. And I know that they're doing that. So there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes, and that's also, to me, why this committee might be working a little bit slower, because when you're making these suggestions, I know in our group, Michael's like, hey, I'm on it. Like, I already did this is my presentation, we talked to everybody, he's checking boxes. And so I don't want to discredit this group, because there are a lot of things that are being done. And I also think that that's why we're kind of at a standstill. So now, since we're working on police, we're working for internal, employment issues here within the city. Now we're looking towards, okay, let's focus on this community and see what the community now needs, because internally we're making some changes. But I also think if there's other things that can be done, you know, we could use guidance outside of this. So I don't want to completely just say, like, we're not doing anything. I just feel like when I make suggestions, and I know other people made suggestions, the city's like, hey, we're doing this. And I just want to make sure that credit is given there, so.
No, absolutely. And I hope that I didn't imply that the city's not doing anything. I was just meaning the committee.
I'm saying that, you know, I think that this committee is looking, like, a lot of our topics, like for my subdivision, or my subcommittee is called City Employment Diversity. When we're sitting down and talking, Michael's like, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm doing this, that, and the other. We are recruiting from here. We're changing exams. We're hiring 2 minorities. We're making sure that those aren't just part-time positions. They're full-time positions. Hey, our retention is 18 years. You know, so now what do we look at? Now we look at internally. What is our, how are we moving internally and, you know, making sure people are promoted? So a lot of these things are absolutely getting looked at and getting reviewed and getting done. So I feel like it's our job as a subcommittee, like, how can we help you? What else can we do to make sure that you have the resources to do this? And even if it's, you know, part of the internship program that Michael was looking at was because she or he could help, right, with getting some of the data. So I just wanted to like throw that out there. So
I think that's good. And I think you need to talk about it in the video so the community knows it's happening, which is the point of the video. I really do. Like, no, I think you're right, because we came to the same conclusion in the Justice and Policing Subcommittee. I mean, Jeffrey was talking about it. We have some really sophisticated equipment. We have really well-trained officers. You know who doesn't know that? Our community.
Yeah, and I do think that there's some things that need to be changed, and you know, some things were brought to my awareness as far as maybe something that's on some cars or something. But I think that I just want to make sure that the community knows that, this group recognizes that as we move forward. But I am a little bit concerned with the community outreach, because I think that those goals and objectives have to be narrowed on what that actually means and what that definition is. Because I really don't know what that means. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, community outreach to me means we have some type of like fair, you know, like a diversity fair or a Juneteenth celebration or, you know, an MLK Day. Like to me, that means like those types of things when you're talking about community outreach. But I could be way off. Like I really don't know.
No, and I think that that's one of the issues, right? Is that this committee really hasn't had the opportunity to meet fully, to do what you've done and what Jeffrey has done with the subcommittee. So we're still early in that process, but I believe you had your hand up. Would you mind?
Oh, I'm Sheila Williams. I would even offer a suggestion for community. If each one of you, because you're all in different boards, I think, except for Sam's board, if you host like a coffee and cookie or punch or something like that, and you invite 10 of your neighbors, and you have a couple of your members come and talk about this, because this is being talked about in the community. I will tell you that. I'm active enough to where I can tell you. They're asking me, am I coming down here? What's going on? And then ask them to host something for another 5 or 10 people. But that requires giving them the time. You know, it's, I have benefits that to tell you, I can put 50, 60 people in a room. But you have to be willing to say, well, from 2 to 4, could you come by, we're gonna talk to you and encourage you to get involved. If you have some concerns, you give us 3 bullet points. But they are talking about it. Really, Twinsburg talk is the last issue. Because it gets twisted.
Yeah.
But there are ways to reach out to pastors in the community. Maybe someone that was speaking one of the churches about what you're doing. Because you have a lot of Twinsburg people that go to church in the community. And you know, you may find someone there that says, well, can I host something? But you could get 5 or 6 people to host 10 or 15 people. It's not a big expense. You'd be surprised at what you can get and what people are willing to do. And it's all information. Anything I do is always out of the phrase of information. Just to give you community information.
Well, thank you, Ms. Williams. We appreciate it. And Michael, do we have enough time to hold on to you for a picture? Okay, can we table this discussion and come back and pause for a group photo?
Sure.
I don't know if Robert's rules lets me do that, but we're gonna table and come back to this.
Does anyone have to leave?
Michael.
How are you doing?
Greg's gotta leave at 7:40, just Tyson said she'll be here right before 7. And then Jeremy just left, so.
Oh, we already lost Jeremy?
Yeah.
Lonnie's not
Yeah.
Lauren.
Well,
here. You have to be.
I think we're gonna do a lot of photoshopping.
I would suggest you don't take a picture without any police officers in it. Ain't it supposed to be with police?
Yeah, they're members.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, Jeremy's
Michael, did you get an
coming
updated headshot?
They got a
We like
call.
slide
Yeah,
you
they
in?
got a call.
Yeah, he
Okay.
had shot.
Okay.
I think if push comes to shove, we can Photoshop. We need to, sorry.
Just push me next. Go.
All right. We did that with baseball pictures
I'm
this
sorry,
year.
I
That was
had-
great.
you know.
Nope, it's okay.
Double booked myself.
Thank you. All right, we can pick the conversation back up. Sorry about that. All right, floor is back open for discussion. And thank you again, Ms. Williams, for sharing that. Still on the topic of the video or community awareness of the committee. I
And there's a
think.
motion on the floor, by the way.
Hmm?
You have a motion on the floor.
Oh.
So
Rescind the
we're in
motion?
well, technically,
We're in
I
discussion.
think the mayor went into discussion, so
Yeah.
just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, if you want me to just take a look at how it would all come about, I can do that and then put it together for the group. You know, in terms of how we could coordinate it and, you know, we probably, you know, if we can't do it internally, Mark can do a lot of creative things. You know, we have a marketing group that we've worked with that,
Minority,
um,
that's the preference.
I don't believe so. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
But it was, they're called the Impact Group. They work with a lot of municipalities on things, but I'm happy to work with whoever, so. But
Will we need an RFP for that?
No, I don't think so.
Do we know people?
Oh, we definitely know people. I would prefer that if we're using vendors as the Jedi group, we should use minority vendors.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, if we're gonna use it outside, I'm sure there's a great capability internally, and if we can't use it internally, we should have a preference for minority vendors externally. Whoever that is. I'm not saying mine. I don't have
Yeah.
anybody personally.
Okay.
That's fine. So the group's okay with me just gathering information and seeing how I can coordinate it? All right.
We like this idea. Or we at least like the idea of this idea. All right, so we'll entertain a motion to have Mary Yates take it and run with it if needed. Do we need a motion for this, or at this point are we just all agreed?
We're good.
All right, excellent. Moving on, summer meetings. So for those who aren't aware, council goes into recess from the middle of July.
Yeah, their last meeting is what, 13th, and then they're off till the end of August. So they skip the second meeting in July and the first meeting in August. So they have about a month off for break.
Okay. So we have we've talked about following that schedule or tabling until around or after Labor Day. I know we have some members who will be on vacation, who will miss subcommittee meetings and full committee meetings. Thoughts? Is there a preference? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be traveling. I think I told also you. So I think I'm in favor of going with the way
The council schedule.
Yeah.
schedule. So
Okay. That sounds like a motion. I think you just moved. I'll take a class at some point. All right, we have a motion on the floor to follow the city council. I don't know, is it a vacation calendar? Or is it
Just their typical break. Yeah, I mean, so I think you could probably, if we're gonna take a
Recess.
break in the summer, maybe reconvene, you know, that first opportunity, September, yeah.
September? Okay.
It's what, the full meeting is what, the second, where we at, we're the second Monday, or is it third?
Second and fourth. Oh, you're talking about the JEDI meeting?
Yeah.
Jedi would be September 3rd.
September 13th.
All right.
Are we meeting at July 12th?
Question, if we're following council, then would we meet again in July on the 12th?
Dots, but you'll be gone, right? Is anyone else unavailable on July 12th?
I will not be here.
Okay. So we're down 2, and we're not sure about those who aren't here. Jeff, what do you think?
I'm flexible.
Okay. Emmanuel?
Around, so, yeah.
I know your preference.
I'm
Akil?
good. I'm here.
Okay, so it sounds like we're going to meet July 12th, and that'll be our final meeting until September 13th.
Okay.
That works? Okay. And we lost Michael in advance of the intern discussion. Timing. Okay, so Shannon, can I call upon you to give us some of the details with the intern? Okay, no problem. Thank you.
So Mrs. Stoffer had received an email in regards to somebody looking for a internship, specifically for the JEDI committee. She then forwarded it on, and I talked to Dave, Michael, the mayor, and Lavelle about it, and seeing if we can bring her on, what would the committee like to see her work on? She needs to get 200 hours between now and, I believe it was beginning of February.
February 1st. She said it to me, February 1st.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't know, Dave, did you and Michael, I know you guys talked a little bit further.
We did, and we talked about that we do have a provision for paid internships, and we think we would have available 10 to 15 hours depending on what her schedule or her desire would be. And she specifically contacted us regarding this committee and not just generally for the city. So we have an opportunity if we can sit down with that individual or any other individual for that matter that wants to do it. But a lot of the police records that I have been going through are, each year is hundreds of pages. So this person would be a great benefit to compiling that, getting that in a format for everybody to be able to use. So between Michael's and my budget, we do have enough covered funding-wise to bring somebody on if the committee has a desire to do that.
That's great. Andrea, Jeffrey, do you see opportunities for this intern with your committees, with your subcommittees?
Yes, because we have a lot of
Yeah.
pages of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Andrea, what about you guys?
Yeah, Michael's not here, but he was saying yes.
Okay. Akil?
Yeah, we definitely.
All right. So, keeping in mind, like, when would she be looking to start?
I don't think she defined that in there. I would think the communication was, Michael reached out to her and told her that we were gonna discuss it this evening and he would get back. I don't think she had a start time. She just had to.
No, I'm looking at it right now. She has to work 200 hours between now, whenever she starts,
Yeah.
and February 1st. So,
Do you guys want to bring her in for kind of an interview meeting at the July meeting?
What do we think?
Would that be too late for her to get started on the project? Is this just a summer internship, or is it all
Through
the
February.
year?
Till
Through February.
February
Oh, I'm
1st.
sorry.
I mean, yeah, that meeting is that's a month from yesterday.
And I would happily hand over this video responsibility to her.
That's a great idea.
Let her find a vendor and lay out the format and what
Yeah.
her vision could be for how the public would view it. And, because I've learned from my daughter, who's 25 in the marketing world in Silicon Valley, that I have really old ideas and thoughts. So I'd be happy to do that.
I think the only concern that I had was that we wouldn't be able to fill her 200 hours, but it sounds like that's not going to be an issue between the three subcommittees and these documents. So
Yeah.
I think if we're confident in that, I'd love to bring her in July and talk to her and let her get to meet us and talk through what she could do.
We do
I
it.
mean,
And David said that you have 10, 15 hours, we and Mike a week, right? And we still have like 26, 27 weeks until
Right.
February. So yeah, she can get it.
it could be a lot of coffee meetings.
We're not putting that on the record.
Well, no, I'm talking about. She was talking about community engagement.
That's true,
She
yes.
could set up the
Yes.
party stuff and it could just be hosted here as an open
Yeah.
forum.
That's
what
a
I'm
great
saying.
idea.
And she could do.
Yeah, we could do some targeted mailings to
Yeah.
different wards, and just for an invite type stuff to bring people in. Yeah.
My recommendation to Michael was that we actually put together a listing of all the projects so that we could present it to her, and so it's not just a catch-all whenever somebody thinks of something, we just throw it on her plate, because we want to make sure that we're equitable in dealing with this individual as well. And so if we can present this candidate with a scope of projects, I think that will be the right approach. So if we can send it to a central person or Shannon or whoever, or Michael like a list of all the projects that you want this person to work on, and then they can put it all together and then have an estimate for how many hours that could take up, then I think we can better project how much time it's gonna take and what that person is gonna work on until February.
I think that's a really good idea, Crystal. It sounds like something you're experienced with.
She also said 50 of the hours she has to spend on creating a deliverable such as an action plan or something else tangible that she can leave with the organization long term.
That's
so
fabulous.
That's part of her.
It's video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's it right there. Yep.
So that's part of her
Yeah. That's excellent. All right. So, any other discussion on the intern? Who is going to extend that invitation to her? Shannon, will that be you?
I believe Michael has already
Or Mike?
contact.
Okay.
Where is she coming from?
She's in Twinsburg. She's a Twinsburg resident.
Okay.
This is through Adler University.
All right. Well, moving on to unfinished business. Is there anything we have not yet covered that's hanging out from before? Subcommittee chairs, anything you can think of? Okay. Any additional new business beyond the intern? Miscellaneous? Floor is open. Dave, was that I saw a hand. Go ahead.
It is. I'll try to see if I can go down this path. You guys talked about the importance of getting information out or defining why we are here and why you are here. I think also what we need to be aware of is why you are not here. You're not here for things that I think Michael and I have seen and some others have seen, attempts to hijack the message of this committee or hijack the intent of this committee for other issues. And I think we have to be aware of that. And I think that that could be as damaging as anything else that could come here, as if somebody tries to hijack that message for why, that this, we weren't created or you weren't created for those reasons. And I think, that's just something to be aware of. Michael and I have had discussions about that. And it's concerning. I think 2 occasions it's come up, so we just want to be aware of that.
It's good to know. Are you able to share any specifics?
We've had a disgruntled individual that comes to council meetings quite often and says, well, maybe I'll just take this to the Jedi committee and see what they'll do about it. And we were kind of set back on our heels because why? And they believe that they have been discriminated against. And clearly, in my opinion, that they might have a grievance, and they might have an issue, and they might have a disagreement, but it's not discrimination under any definition of the word. But the thought is, well, if I bring it to the Jedi committee, you'll listen to them, and you won't listen to me, and that's where we end those conversations. But that's not the goal. All right. I mean, the goal when we want to get residents here, I think, LaBelle, you brought up the subcommittee we had. That's the absolute perfect spot for Dr. Davis and his wife to come and to have that discussion that they had. And I'd hate to see we open it to the public and that invite is, okay, well, I can air whatever grievance I have because you guys are the grievance committee and you'll hear it. And that's not what you are. So that's just a kind of a dangerous direction I see out there, and I just want to bring it to your attention.
Thank you for that. Welcome back. Does anybody have any additional questions on that point or anything to add?
I will add something. I think that the issue that we're going to run into as soon as you say equity and diversity and inclusion and have these community involvements, you are going to be the person that the community is going to come to when they do have a grievance that they feel, whether or not it's legit, whether or not it has to do with racial or sex or whatever diversity, we are the people that they're going to go to. And so I think that, how we approach those individuals and how we, guide them or say, hey, listen, we're here for the community. I understand, we'll bring it to the attention of the group, or this is something that the group doesn't handle. We probably should make those guidelines within the committee because, in one sense, we're talking about community engagement and having like coffee talks. And the next sense, we're saying, yeah, but we don't want to hear that. So I think that there has, either we do it or we don't. Either this is a place where people can come and voice their concerns or it's not. And I think that how we define that is going to be very important because because I think that that's very confusing to the public and to us.
What is the city's current process for receiving grievances, and then what is that process?
I guess it depends on where it came and what format. For example, the police department has their own format established online for a resident complaint to come through and to make their complaint, to register their complaint and have as a process. Depending on what other department it would come in, the complaint, it depends on where it's initiated. For example, a building department or finance or somebody, if somebody has a complaint, it generally gets worked to that director and they're dealing with it. We don't have, Michael has a specific process he'll go through with employees, okay, that have, or the unions have their ability to file grievances through their union contracts and have specific forms and a process that we follow that's very detailed and laid out.
Well, maybe that's something we can do from our committee is create a workflow of what that looks like. And then if it's, via a general email that comes in to, the committee, and then we determine what that process looks like, because we are going to get the complaints. I mean, it's no way around it. I mean, I know every diversity committee I sit on, I get the complaints in that particular area or field that I'm in. So, so maybe that's something that the outreach or the community outreach committee can put together. We can propose it to this group, and that can be a part of when we go out to do the video. Maybe we have some type of pamphlet or pass out or emailable electronic document that says who we are. This is who we are. This is not who we are. But if there's a complaint or any type of issue that you're having in the community, then you can, address it via this manner. And it's just maybe a general email inbox that has the criteria of what that complaint and maybe we invite complaints or suggestions, complaints or recommendations or something like that. And that's a centralized area. And that's a start. It's showing, I think, that we are actively doing something about it. And then we can then from there, I think, determine what we want to do with them, because we need a process. It sounds like the city has kind of siloed processes depending on what it is. So we need to maybe create what our process is and make that recommendation to get approved. So,
Yeah, David, a quick question for you. So that scenario, that person, how would you like to handle that?
Well, I can just say the way it was handled was, okay, I see no connection between your complaint and your issue and the JEDI committee, but it's got a public participation. They have a public participation forum, and you're certainly welcome. But the problem that I have, that it was almost thrown out like a threat of, if I'm not heard here, I'll go there. And so we didn't have an answer to that, I guess. I mean, other than I don't see the connection, but they're not here, so I think it was more of just a threat of, I'll go to the JEDI committee.
And I'm asking that because as a committee, I think we need to take that into consideration as well, that if people come to the city meeting and then threatening that they're going to come to us, we need to think about it as well. So when they come, we know how to respond to them as well.
For that situation, is there no place that the person can go?
They've exhausted all those remedies. They don't like the answers they've gotten, so.
that's where I think it's what Dave is kind of sharing is that, you know, we don't want to see the committee being used for self-serving type purposes to promote an agenda, you know, from someone personally that, you know, and that's just part of the kind of political climate we're in when you have these types of committees in a public forum. So I think that's probably what he's trying to share is that of all the good that could happen out of it, there's, you know, some other agendas out there that could use this committee in a way that.
So I hear that, but the reality is that person could have been sitting here tonight. So, and we would have had to hear whatever their issue or concern is, and then we need to have some type of solution to that, you know. So, you know, I mean, because I don't think we're the decision makers, but if the resident or the complainant doesn't feel that they have any support, then where is that support? Because I think that's why this committee is derived in the true sense of it. When you think about why we're here, you know, because there has been a lack of equity, diversity, a missing voice for people. So I think it just needs to be addressed. I mean, we need to, you know, and if it's coming from your end, from the law department and you, Mayor, then there needs to be something that says this is what the policy is, or this is the process, and then we can get behind it as a committee to support that. Is the way I feel. It's almost like being on a board and you're operating without director's insurance.
I think if I'm hearing the mayor correctly, there is a policy in place and there is a procedure in place that's already been followed, and it's reached a resolution that he's unhappy with.
And the one Dave referenced, yes. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to, I don't think Dave and I are either trying to discourage this group from listening to residents. I mean, that is not, that's not the case. I mean, this committee is here to listen to residents and to listen to everything. There's just, I think Dave's just kind of warning to be cautious about who may stand in front of you or who may send you an email. And some of those topics may be, you know, out of kind of left field. And, you know, we just all have to understand that and deal with it. So we do it every day, but, you know, and so it's just something that is we want to make sure that as members of this committee, you understand that those things are probably going to happen.
Gotcha. I can appreciate that coming up, if I can, real quick.
I'm sorry.
She had something to say.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when they asked me about the Jedi, the first thing I say is, this is not your black complaint department. Right. And I say that in the sense that you go round and round, and you all can get detoured. I say, well, they're trying to look at ways to get Twinsburg better. They're trying to look at employment. They're looking at the police department. They're looking at stakeholders, because I used to be stakeholders, to become more involved in the community. But more importantly, to make it a better, cohesive place. I have complaints. Everyone has complaints. But I don't want to see you all get detoured. And that's the only thing I'm going to say about that. Because you can get off what you all are trying to accomplish and all the good that can come out of this. And you get nothing done. Nothing done. Because you're not going to please everyone. There's always going to be a complaint. And I always ask people, what are you involved in? Besides self. When you tell me that you don't feel comfortable going ABC, my question becomes, well, who else have you involved? What have you been involved in? You know, you got to rock the park here. You could probably call 100 blacks in Twinsburg. Most of them say, oh, I didn't know we had an LSE. And there's all kinds of signs that I'm talking about. It's all on emails. It's all on the city websites. So just don't get detoured. That's the only thing I'm asking. Please don't get detoured. Stay focused on what your goals are, what You're gonna have complaints, but there's a process to follow. And if I can come to you and spend an hour complaining to you, they look bad because there's no policy being followed. Michael looks bad like there's no policy being followed. The police department looks bad like there's no policy being followed. If you wanna do something, you approach them. This is where you need to go.
That's right.
For the complaints.
Yeah.
Which is what I think he was alluding to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your place to handle the complaint. But it is to say, I understand how you feel about it and have you checked off all these boxes.
Right.
Because people will do too.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Great point. Crystal?
Yeah, I think just to put a bow on it, I'm not gonna be Soul Patrol. And so I don't want to be Soul Patrol like we had in Kent State back in the day. I'm not going to police my people. That's not my job. That's not what I signed up for. And so I think my role is to hold government accountable, like it's the community's role to hold government accountable. And so I'm not teaming up with anybody. I stand for the Davis family when I sit here. And so I'm not going to devise a plan with anybody to plot against members of anybody or to respond to anybody any kind of way. We're gonna let each member of the community come up and speak for themselves and hear them out and judge their situations individually and govern them, govern the situation as they are. I think the other thing is that just as we have to make sure that we judge each situation individually, we have to also make sure that we are not being tokenized. And so that's what I'm making sure of, because on accident, we can tokenize ourselves by allowing ourselves to, get glorified for doing nothing sometimes, right? And I know we've done things that I think we can be proud of. We've held our elected officials accountable just by virtue of being in this room. There are things that are changing without our even knowing it. And so I appreciate that, but I'm making sure that just because we exist, that we're not being held up like, hey, we have this Jedi committee that is going to, because they hear by the community or by elected officials, by anybody, that now because we're here, things don't have to change. And so I have to keep making sure I'm reminding myself and all of us to not be tokenized in this process, because it can happen and you won't even know it. And so I think we have to remember that.
Thank you, Crystal. Anybody else? Okay. Well, that was the end of the miscellaneous business. So our next full committee meeting will be July 12th. And that will be our final meeting before our summer recess. It's 6:59. We made it inside of an hour, you guys. Meeting is adjourned.